Africa has never lacked ambition. For example, we've seen plans for cities that rival Dubai, railways that could transform trade, and energy projects that are capable of lighting up the continent. However, for every successful mega project, there are others that just fell flat, either due to corruption, mismanagement, political instability, or just unrealistic expectations. On today's episode of Africa's Top Tier, we'll be counting down the top 10 African mega projects that did not meet expectations or were simply abandoned. At number 10, we have the Bugesera International Airport in Rwanda. This airport was envisioned as Rwanda's flagship infrastructure project and a world-class facility to handle over 7 million passengers annually and relieve pressure from Kigali International Airport. It was meant to boost tourism, attract investors, and position Rwanda as a regional aviation hub. After a groundbreaking ceremony in 2017 and early momentum, the project was plagued by design changes, financial restructuring, and the COVID-19 delays. The Rwandan government brought in Qatar Airways and Vinci Airport as partners in 2019, significantly revising both the scale and the cost of the project. As of mid-2025, construction has resumed but remains significantly delayed, with completion now expected in late 2026 or 2027, and the new estimated cost exceeds $2 billion, and public concern is growing over escalating debt and timelines. At number 9, we have the Uganda Oil Refinery project. Discovered in the early 2000s, Uganda's oil reserves were meant to be a national turning point. The government proposed a $4 billion refinery to process crude locally, create jobs, and cut import dependency on refined fuel products. Initially backed by Russia's RT Global Resources and later GE, the refinery was to be developed in tandem with the East Africa crude oil pipeline. However, land disputes, investor withdrawals, and delays in environmental assessments, as well as shifting government priorities, repeatedly stalled progress, and by the early 2020s, Uganda began focusing heavily on the East Africa crude oil pipeline, sidelining the refinery in the process. As of 2025, the oil refinery remains on paper only. Although land has been allocated, no construction has taken place, and the project appears deprioritized in favor of pipeline exports and foreign processing partnerships. Taking the 8th spot is the Abuja Millennium Tower. Intended as a symbol of national pride, the 170-meter Abuja Millennium Tower was designed to be the tallest structure in Nigeria, housing an observation deck, a museum, gallery, and a revolving restaurant. Construction began in 2006, but was interrupted by budget cuts, political reshuffling, and corruption allegations. Despite multiple re-announcements by various administrations and inclusion in annual budgets, the project has seen no significant progress in over a decade. In 2025, the project remains unfinished, surrounded by scaffolding and minimal security presence. And while the structure still stands, it is deteriorating due to weather exposure, and it has become a symbol of wasted public resources in the Nigerian capital. At number 7, we have the Zanzibar Domino Commercial Tower. Unveiled in 2021, the Zanzibar Domino Tower was an eye-catching proposal for a 70-floor high-rise built on artificial island, combining luxury housing, hotels, and public space. Marketed as a future icon of African tourism and investment, the project attracted international headlines. However, critics raised questions about the project's feasibility, lack of community engagement, and potential environmental damage to Zanzibar's coastline and marine ecosystem. No lead investor was ever confirmed. As of now, the project is dormant, despite the high-profile launch. No permits or construction activity has actually taken place, and local authorities have not renewed official support. It is widely regarded as a publicity stunt or overambitious proposal. At number 6, we have the Fontaine New City in South Africa. Fontaine New City was to be South Africa's answer to Shenzhen, a $4.2 billion high-tech smart city developed by China's Shanghai Zendai Group. Planned near Johannesburg, it was to include industrial parks, financial centers, and residential estates. While some groundwork began, disputes over land ownership, permits, and local governance interference led to a full investor withdrawal in 2016. No replacement developer has been found since. As of now, in 2025, the project is effectively dead. Most of the land remains empty and no new development proposals have surfaced. It stands as one of Africa's most glaring examples of foreign investment that never materialized. At number 5, we have Hope City in Ghana. Hope City was launched with fanfare in 2013, a $10 billion digital ecosystem intended to put Ghana at the center of Africa's tech boom. It was meant to house 6 skyscrapers, including a 270-meter tower, and accommodate over 25,000 tech workers. But just 2 years later, the developer RLG Communications was hit with corruption investigations and financial mismanagement. The site never saw active construction and public confidence in the project collapsed. As of 2025, the project is abandoned. No activity exists at the proposed location, and Hope City is now studied as a case study in failed tech optimism. At number 4, we have EcoAtlantic in Nigeria. EcoAtlantic was marketed as a flood-proof smart city built on reclaimed land off Lagos's coastline. Conceived in the 2000s, it was expected to house 250,000 residents and solve urban density and climate threats. Though several commercial buildings, banks, and embassies have moved in, the city remains largely inaccessible to the public. Critics argue it has become a private enclave for the elites, disconnected from broader Lagos challenges like traffic, housing inequality, and climate adaptation. EcoAtlantic as of 2025 is partially operational, but over 80% of plots remain undeveloped. Access remains restricted, and there is growing criticism about its relevance to ordinary Lagosians. At number 3, we have the Busoga MPG Expressway in Uganda. Proposed to ease the traffic burden of Kampala's southwestern corridor, this expressway project was funded by the African Development Bank and the Ugandan government. Construction began in 2018 with a scheduled completion date of 2021. However, poor contractor performance, land compensation issues, and shifting political attention led to significant delays and cost overruns. In 2025, the project is only 40% complete, with the latest target set for late 2026. It continues to drain funds, and commuters still face daily congestion on the route. Taking the second spot is the Ajakuta Steel Complex in Nigeria. Started back in 1979 with major support from the Soviet Union, the Ajakuta Steel Complex was designed to be the beating heart of Nigeria's industrial revolution, being the largest steel plant on the African continent. It was meant to create thousands of jobs, power local manufacturing, and reduce Nigeria's dependence on imported steel. But more than 40 years later, not a single ton of commercial steel has ever rolled out of Ajakuta. So what went wrong? Chronic mismanagement, a long trail of failed privatization attempts, and unfulfilled promises of rehabilitation. To date, over $8 billion has been spent on the project, and yet the complex remains mostly idle, with it being a massive rusting monument to what could have been. In 2023, the government signed a partial public-private revival agreement. Some cleanup work began in 2024, but full operations are unlikely before 2027. It remains Nigeria's most iconic industrial white elephant. Taking the number 1 spot is the Grand Inga Dam in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Grand Inga Dam was meant to be the largest hydroelectric project in the world that is capable of generating up to 40,000 megawatts of electricity, enough to power much of sub-Saharan Africa and even export power beyond the continent. Located on the Congo River, the project attracted interest from global players, including the World Bank, South Africa, Spain, and China. But despite all the support and multiple feasibility studies, construction has never started. So what's the holdup? A mix of regional politics, uncertain funding, and ongoing instability in the DRC. For decades, the dam has existed more on paper than in reality. As of 2025, not a single dam structure exists. Talks continue with Chinese and European firms, but construction remains indefinitely postponed. These mega projects were meant to shape Africa's future, but many now stand as warnings. Unrealistic expectations, fragile governance, and poor planning can derail even the grandest of dreams. Which one of these projects do you think has a chance of success? And which one should be buried for good? Let us know in the comment section below. And did we miss any projects that you think should have made the list? Also drop them in the comments below. We want to hear from you. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who loves Africa as much as we do. This is Africa's Top Tier, telling the real stories behind the headlines. See you next time.